to our hot June weekend. We're going to leave the air conditioner, the one on, to try to keep it a little bit cool. If you have problems hearing us or whatever, raise your hand and we can try to adjust. I've checked with our cameraman and he's given me the thumbs up that that's okay, so we're just trying to keep it somewhat comfortable for everybody here. And hopefully we can get through the meeting. All right, I'd like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there anybody in attendance for public comment? Up to the podium, name, address. We limit our comments to 3 minutes or less.
Okay, you want to time me? Hi, I'm Caitlin Lightfoot. I live at, is it on? Hi, is this doing it? It's not working. It's on. How's that now? No. Here now? A little
That's
bit?
better.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Hi. My name is Caitlin Lightfoot, and I live at 86 Livingston Street. I have 2 kids in the district, a 4th grader going into 5th and a 6th grader going into 7th. I'm here to thank you for putting time and energy and hopefully money into our playgrounds, because I'm very much aware of how necessary it is. I was here initially when my children were born, and then we moved out of the area and moved around a bit, and we moved back during COVID. But my husband grew up here, and I've heard stories of the old playground that used to be at Star Park, that it was wooden and incredible, and apparently you could climb above ground within the structure for seemingly endless amount of time. And it was taken down because of, I'm sure, the treated wood issues and perhaps splinters, understandable. However, the structures in the playgrounds now are very dated and somewhat damaged. There's a lot of flaking paint and rust, and the playground equipment itself is rather uninteresting and small, and very much out of date, especially compared to some of the lovely things that have been done locally, like at Stanfordville and also Red Hook. Comparatively, our playgrounds are not only unappealing and dangerous to some extent, but also in Star Park's case, without any shade, and therefore burning hot. Thankfully, the mini park has some good trees, but the equipment is really underrated for what I think the children could do. And I think that our parks, if they are enriched, could really enrich our communities. I think that we, as a mother and part of the community of parents with kids, we spend lots of time at the parks, and the kids just find the park equipment pretty underwhelming. So I really appreciate any time, interest, and money put into this, and I am hoping that more can be done in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Kathleen. How are you this evening?
Hi, my name is Kathleen Evans, and I'm a village resident who lives on Somers Drive. And I attended with many other people the gathering that was at the middle school about the new sidewalk that is going to be installed. And there were many comments by the people that were there that were put on the post-it notes. And my question to the board is, has any of those comments from the residents been taken into consideration, and would there be any changes to them based on, or is it just as we saw it then?
So I'll answer that.
I can sit back.
Yeah, sure. All of the comments are being compiled by GPI, which is the engineering firm, and they're putting into categories. We have not seen them yet. So we are waiting the outcome of that meeting from GPI to come back to us and address those comments, and so that we can then look at the plans and make more informed decisions based on community input. But as of today, my conversation with them at the end of last week was they are still compiling the comments and with the plans.
And will we be notified if there's any changes?
Yes, we're going to have to. We're going to have to get out somehow and let everybody know what's going on.
Thank you very much.
I don't know about another public meeting. Trustee Lewitt, who's sitting right here, I'm waiting for him to come back, and we'll get into discussion and have that plan put in place.
Mark Hoteling, I live at 36 South Street. And I just wanted to check in the status of the Asher Dam project. I watched the meeting with Ty and Bond, their presentation, and concepts were presented, and just wanted to know kind of what the process was and what the public engagement would be.
Valerie, would you like to address that?
Basically, right now, there's nothing that critically has to be done immediately, so we're holding off. I think at some point, Ty and Bond was going to be preparing a report with some of the alternatives, but I don't know if they talked about, remember we had that meeting where they talked about possibly even decommissioning the dam?
They presented the alternatives at that meeting.
But then somebody brought up decommissioning, and I thought they were going to respond to that.
We've run out of money on...
I know we've run out of money, but I'm just saying that that's kind of where it sits, but I
Yes.
thought...
At the moment, as far as I understand, at the moment, it's just sitting there.
Right, but I
Nothing
mean,
new since that meeting.
Nothing's happening.
There will have to be work done. Right, and we filed a report with DEC on the intentions of where we need to go, and at some point, we're going to have to address that, but there's no timetable in place.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good question.
My theory on it is we're spending millions of dollars currently on water and wastewater, and so I'd like to finish that before we start thinking about how to spend millions of dollars on something else. That's my general take on it.
I just don't want to lose track of it. It's in my
Yeah,
backyard.
no. Very good point.
Million here, million there. Anybody else? All right, we're going to move on. Thank you. Tonight we have another presentation on the mini park. Michelle, back in March, the Lions Club came and presented a view of what the mini park would look like. Since March, we've had a small work group that's been trying to come together with a plan to move forward. So tonight you're going to see an alternative to what was presented by the Lions Club.
Okay, can everyone hear me? My name is Michelle Duval, and I'm here to represent the Parks Committee. Thank you so much, Mayor Bassett and the Board of Trustees for allowing us the time. I'll start really quick. I want to keep this very brief and get right to the point. This evening, we're here to give our kiddie area playground recommendation for the 2 to 5 area. So the Parks Committee's recommendation is the result of a thoughtful and collaborative review process informed by the Lions Club original proposal and guided by community needs. We sincerely appreciate the time and effort the Lions Club organization has invested in working to enhance the mini park, and the final outcome will reflect their dedication and commitment. So the committee carefully reviewed and evaluated multiple equipment options and design considerations that you can see up here. Community input, stakeholder feedback, inclusive and accessible play opportunities for children of all abilities, compliance with safety and accessibility standards, cost effectiveness and long-term durability, compatibility with the park's natural setting, and consideration of the needs of neurodivergent children highlighted by the Lions Club and Autism Support Committee. The proposal before you today will reflect the committee's commitment to creating an inclusive, sustainable playground that serves the needs of our community. After evaluating options, public feedback, accessibility, safety, durability, and cost, we believe this recommendation is the best long-term investment for the mini park. The proposed equipment will provide meaningful play opportunities for children of all abilities and create a welcoming space for families to gather for years to come. So this just kind of outlines our executive summary. The project purpose is to revitalize that kiddie area. The goal is we really want to create a safe space for all children of all different abilities and all developmental levels and their caregivers. We didn't want to just single one user group or one age. We really want it to be accessible for everyone. That is the point of this proposal. The equipment vendor we're using is Liberty Parks and Playgrounds. We chose a variety of different play experiences, some that we felt were redundant in some of the other earlier designs. And these will feature the multi-feature play structure, the ADA 10-spin spinner, the tunnel climber, and then different sensory panels, which I think are really important, as you'll see in the next couple slides. The site design, that is something that we support a mix of poured-in-place rubber, paths, and engineered wood fiber. We think that that's going to give maximum accessibility for all different types of kids, with a big emphasis on drainage, grading, leveling, plantings, and then partial fencing as well. We can also add additional designs in the future. Critical infrastructure for this plan is a strong focus on the drainage. We really need that system to be strong to prevent any issues from previous years of what has happened, pooling and flooding and destruction of that area. Right now the budget, the total project estimate is about $180,000. That includes equipment, installation of the equipment, site work design, surfacing, landscaping, and then contingency costs. The timeline that we'd love to see from the board is spring 2026 to May 2027. This is an aerial view of the playground of our design. This is the large structure right here, and then it kind of gives you the other design elements. This is the 10-spin and the boulder tunnel. When we were looking over the designs from the different vendors, we really wanted to prioritize a variety of play over redundant elements. Also that it would be equipment that's compatible with a natural theme. Also, really one of the biggest goals for us was accessibility and sensory elements for the autism community, while maintaining challenging elements for the children across a full range of capabilities. Also to include some shade in the large structure there with the slides, and for it to also be a little challenging for some of the kids too. Okay, so these are the different elements and features. If you go to the next page. So this Tranquility Corner was really fantastic. It's just a space that's set apart. If you go back, Lydia, sorry. It's set over here. So for kids that need a little bit of time, they're feeling overwhelmed, they need a little friend, they just want to take a little time out for themselves, it still lets them be a part of the playground, but without being overwhelmed, they take a minute to themselves or with a parent or with a friend. The next is, this is one of the most common features asked for in playgrounds that are being redone, is the communication panel. This lets children and caregivers communicate across the board. if they don't want to talk, if they have no capabilities of that as well, they can go to this communication panel and they can just point to different features. It has things like you, me, eat, wash my hands, stop, go, different things like that. This is a key piece to the project. In the next, thank you. In the next slide, you'll see different tactile features for kids, the pushpin panel and the mosaic disc panel. And then in the next slide, you'll see a washer panel and a widget panel that has different cogs and marbles, and you can spin those, and just different sensory tools for all the kids. The 10 spin, which we were really excited about, lets kids sit or stand together on this. I'm sure it can get a little rowdy, but I think that this was a really great feature, and the kids were very excited about it. And then for the actual color scheme of the structure, that's something that the current renderings rely on the natural tan tones, because what's in the park now, we want it to be a little bit more cohesive. But you can change this. Nothing's set in stone. You have options. I think he said you could even customize it a little bit as well. We did want to make sure that obviously it's something that doesn't get too hot in the summer with the sun, and that something that doesn't stick out. Site design and surfacing. So again, we do support having a hybrid, a mix of pour in place and the engineered wood fiber. We think that this again will allow more kids to access the park, and also think about being cost effective too. We feel that additional interest can be added in the future, such as partial fencing or plantings, landscaping, whatever needs to be done. These are just some, thank you. These are just some site design notes continued, mostly about the drainage. I know that's a big issue, so most about the drainage and proper grading and leveling of that area. This was put in just to kind of show what would need to go underneath, what is appropriate according to our consultant that we're lucky enough to have. He's a registered landscape architect. He gave us this information to make sure that what you have underneath is appropriate for the leveling and the grading and surfacing install. Okay, so on the left you'll see the cost equipment breakdown. The Miracle Recreation subtotal is the cost of the actual equipment. The Sourcewell discount is something that this vendor gives to us because we are partnered in that program where we don't have to put out for bids. So if we choose to go with this company, it's already in there. They give us a nice discount. The freight, the total, and then you have here the equipment unload and installation. On the right side, the tentative project budget summary. The site preparation, which is essential. That's getting the area ready for a safe and stable install. That would be excavating, grading the surface to ensure proper leveling, and then installing adequate drainage and sub-bases to prevent water damage. This could be handled by 3 different options: a licensed commercial excavating contractor, a turnkey playground installation company, or municipal public works department, which would considerably lower the cost of the overall project. Consult for silt design, that's optional. We've done a lot of the legwork and we're happy to do it. We'll continue doing it. But if you wanted a professional to come in, this would be, at this point, a consultant would provide detailed construction drawings that would incorporate the equipment layout, site drainage, grading, paths, ADA evaluation, site access, staging area, and restoration of disturbed areas. That's something I think that optional price could be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, but we just went with the high end just in case. Next is the surface and barriers. This is definitely essential. This is going to, again, we support having the poured in place and the engineered wood fiber. So for the 50 by 50 foot area, 2,500 square feet, the full quote for poured in place on the entire kitty area was coming in at $58,625. That's $23.45 per square foot. The other engineered wood fiber is going to be a total of, if you did all of the engineered wood chips, is $19,975, and that's going to be $7.99 square foot. The exact quote we are yet to receive from our vendor, and that will probably come in around an estimated amount of $32,000. So definitely an increase from the engineered wood fiber chips, but I think that if you look at it long-term versus short-term, the maintenance cost to remulch and regrade and do that every year, as opposed to doing a sealant every 3 to 4 years, I think that would take you long-term, and it would help with the durability of the area. And then the equipment unload and installation, that is the quote from our vendor. That's essential. And then the landscape and planting is optional. We can work on that in the future, decide what we would like to put in there. And the contingency costs of the 10% of the project, with the essential total of $179,454. And then our project timeline on the next slide. Playground proposal today, public input, we'd like to get that done by June, end of June. Equipment and site selection, including the drainage, July, and then equipment procurement and site preparation, which can, I think, be done simultaneously. July, August, I think that the vendor said 6 to 8 weeks for equipment. And then the construction and installation, we'd love to see this by next spring. On the next slide, these are just some inspiration. I personally love this one. We talked about the gazebo and having an amphitheater and opening that up to where people can have music in the parks or shows or using that gazebo, and we love that idea. Maybe not to this level, but I just love that picture. We also like to use different slopes and landforms to create natural areas within the park as well. In conclusion, the Parks Committee's goal was to prioritize the needs of all children, not just a single user group, by creating a play space that allows children of varying ages, abilities, and developmental levels come together, interact, and play. The summary here for everyone is just basically to highlight proposal to create a safe space for those aged kids and their families, inspired by the Lions Club and the Autism Support Committees. The recommended playground design builds upon the Lions Club proposal initially when we got it, incorporating a central play structure to anchor and unifying the play space. The concept assumes placement within the current playground footprint, maximizing the use of the existing area while enhancing play opportunities. The hybrid surface, which we are fully supportive and we recommend to maximize the accessibility and balance environmental and cost sensitivities. The minimum costs will be $180,000. Equipment, surface, and barriers, and then site preparation. And we hope that placement can start fall 2026. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Questions?
So let me give a summary of kind of the work group since March, right? So the work group that was put together was very small and considered part of the committee. We had just engineering support there for answering the drainage questions that were going on, and the autism committee and our highway DPW was there. There was some things that the work group decided that were really good, right? First off, the work group did not pick design A or design B. Right? We have two proposals. The work group said both are satisfactory from their point of view to be able to go forward. The decision that was recommended by this work group was to move the current kiddie area closer to the existing play area, right? Which does work and will fit, but requires moving the gazebo to be able to do that. And we do not have a plan for removing or whatever to the gazebo. I do want to state that the Lions Club has a lot of sentimental value into the gazebo, which is very important. They built it, they've maintained it, they would like to see it, but they understand that time changed, but they are not involved with any decision made with moving the gazebo. Eleanor has looked at moving the gazebo and picking it up like you do a house. It's unaffordable. Right? It was built in place by really, really great craftsmen with heavy lumber, but it's not movable. So from that aspect. So recommendation by the work group was to move it closer to the school on the other side of the pathway and use the amphitheater of the bank as part of the stage. And everybody thought that was a great idea. Whether you have a gazebo or whether you have an open amphitheater, as Michelle has presented of some kind, that's something that could be done in the future, but the work group did think it was wise and a smart decision, especially from a parent point of view, to look at, if they have two kids in both age group, to be side by side and be able to look at them, right? So that's probably the only decision that the work group came out of, which was they're in favor of moving the kiddie area closer to the other kiddie area to be able to do.
I just want to comment on that because the Parks Committee met subsequent to that and we looked at that. There were some recommendations. One is that if you put the kiddie area over there, you should leave a buffer zone, 10 to 20 feet, because then when we go to refurbish the 5 to 12-year-old section, there might not be enough room because laws, regulations have changed in terms of spacing and boundaries. Maybe we want to put in some other type of, additional equipment. So, and then if you measure that out, it would just about exactly, the 50 by 50 would fit in there almost exactly. It would be up against the tree. It would be up against the path. It would be just about touching the 5 to 12-year-old area, and it would encroach upon where people would stand, next to the gazebo. And so we decided that our recommendation, but obviously the board has to make this decision, is that we focus on getting a kiddie area and worry about the gazebo later. In fact, somebody said maybe we could just move the 5 to 12-year-old area later on, and then they'll be together again when we have a better sense of, or maybe the money to do something different with the gazebo. So that was another alternative.
Yeah, basically the Parks Committee doesn't want to hold up the start of the project due to the unknown location of the gazebo or whether or not it's coming down. We still want to make sure that we're moving forward and making progress because there are a lot of factors, the pathways, the drainage, there's so many things to consider, but I think in this space, in the kiddie area space as it is, that gives us a direct path to progress.
I also spoke with a designer, and he strongly recommended that we don't make a major change like that without, doing a park design.
Great.
Which would hiring a park designer.
Which would, and that's why, in a sense, it maybe isn't a good thing to be pursuing right now because, then that would increase the price of the project.
But you also heard from a scheduling point of view, the goal was to try to do something this year. Right? And the more things we put in front of that, it's going to move that schedule out farther than what it even is currently proposed. So when we first met, we said, here's a proposed plan that can get us to possibly getting the park, the kiddie area in, and getting it done by year end. And really have a commissioning by November would be at the farthest out date. And we know that drainage is going to continue past that because construction for drainage is until October and ends really in December, but that can be concurrent to whatever work is being done with the park and doesn't impact whatever we do with the park situation. As for drainage underneath the new area, regardless of where it is, it's a matter of putting an end cap on the existing pipe, and if we do it, we can tie into it with existing pipes. It's not, something would have to be factored in to be able to do that. But you're really looking at two different cost proposals here. When the Lions Club presented, they presented a plan that really came out to about 60.
I mean, the price of the equipment
Yeah.
was 60, whatever.
Well, no, the price of their equipment was 41,000,
Okay.
and the cost of installation was 12,000. So for their cost was 63,000, and then installation, the total cost of the project, was 53, then the total cost was up to 62,000. Not using the hybrid, it was all wood chips at the time, so that didn't consider a hybrid. So we have committed to us 50 grand from the Lions Club, which is absolutely wonderful. And we should take advantage of that to take advantage of it, we have to make a decision on what design we're going to go for to be able to do that. Their commitment of 50,000 covers the plan that they presented, and they also said they would contribute towards the installation and so forth to get this done, and with the goal of having it done by year end. So I think the board has to decide. Both designs are great. I'm not, there's no discussion that both of them really work. One is more costly and it's going to take more time. One is, been presented by Lions Club and we have a commitment of money to use. That commitment of money is only good until year end. After the end of the year, the Lions Club say if you haven't used that, they're withdrawing it and going to spend it elsewhere, which is logical on their part to be able to make that happen. So the board has to make some decisions.
Great. I have so many questions.
Oh, I can't wait.
So many questions. Okay, that looks like a really amazing design, and thank you so much for all of your work on this. I feel like we're having a conversation about the details before we've had a conversation about like what we're dealing with here. I mean, I have questions on like, how does this integrate with the drainage project that we're about to embark on, and like where the paths are going for the safe walks to school, like, I would like to see like a site plan of the mini park with like all of these moving pieces on it before I even begin to think about how to spend $150,000 that we don't have on a new playground. And that's not that the playground isn't important, and I fully appreciate the desire that we are trying to take advantage of it. It's good to know that the Lions have now put a deadline on this money, but I feel very unequipped to make a decision on details about how to design a playground when I'm not in that area of expertise. We haven't taken any public comment. We haven't. Nobody has had the opportunity to look at both plans and then tell us what they think, parents or experts or otherwise. I'm feeling a little like I'm being asked to make a decision about a series of things.
That was not our intent.
I don't think you have to
not our
make a decision
intent to
tonight.
make a
I think
decision.
Okay, great.
That came out of nowhere.
Excuse me for a second. We have until probably July, the end of July, till we can formulate a plan.
Okay,
Right? So if we can get everybody on the same page, get everybody herded together,
Right.
by the end of July, we really need to make
Yeah.
a solid decision on how we're going to move forward. Because
Yeah.
we haven't set aside the additional funding for doing this.
Right, and there's grant opportunities.
And there's grant opportunities
Right.
that have to be pursued.
Yeah.
And then depending on those grants, the time frame for those grants, whether a New York State grant or a local grant would have to be factored into it.
Right.
We've had some very detailed discussions on questions asked, and Brandy can maybe answer some today, because we've poured into what is the drainage, right? And we know that if we do any kind of hybrid, we need to put some drainage underneath it, because that's required for any of the rubber poured in place, even if it's small. But that's a cost that we have. So one of the things that we talked about at our last meeting was we should probably start thinking about hiring an engineering firm to do some real work, right? And create a task order to start bundling all these things together so that we can get a real projection, get designs, get costs, figure out what the real cost is of moving forward to be able to make this all happen.
And I think that really, in this case, I think it is important to try to find somebody to design a park.
Yeah.
I think we
I
need
agree.
somebody
I agree.
that has the expertise in designing the park. And the reason the Parks Committee went back, and I guess now we're getting back to what we didn't want to do. We didn't want to be pushing one plan or the other. But the reason we reverted back to saying maybe it makes sense not to move it right now is because that would eliminate. I talked to the guy from Liberty, and he said that if we put it in the same place it was, we're probably all right without getting a designer, and we don't have to hire somebody to design it. But he said that when you start talking about the gazebo and the paths and how all that stuff in the tree and the roots of the tree, he said at that point you really need to.
Well, right, and I think there's an interesting conversation to be had here of, let's say we keep whatever we put in that 50 by 50 square foot area, like if we keep it there and, we say whatever we do with the gazebo, like, if there is this possibility of moving the 5 to 12-year-old to the other side of the kiddie area, I would very much like to have a conversation about, whether we're spending $72,000 or whether we're spending $150,000. I do think that just doing this particular part just to get it done, which I understand the urgency behind it, but without sort of at least like having a fulsome conversation about the overall design of the park and what we want the park to look like for the next 20 years. Because, I mean, if we do this, we're not moving it, short of someone coming in with millions of dollars and saying, I'll just completely redo your park for you. Like, I don't think we're gonna move it, and I don't think we should, and I don't think we should be spending money in a way that, requires us to have to think about moving it sometime in the next 5 to 10 years, depending on whether or not we want like an amphitheater or something. And so, if there is a way to think through some of these bigger picture issues with the overall park expeditiously, while we're trying to make sure that we get this done. I think there's also an interesting conversation now with the Lions of, if we can get some additional grant funding sort of secured before the end of the year, are they willing to, hold on to their money for the next 5 months? Like if we're planning on buying the equipment, I don't know, in February.
Nancy is here, president of the Lions Club.
Oh,
Great. I don't know whether,
Oh, that's awesome.
whether she wants to tune in on that question or not.
Does we have, we did submit a letter that
Yes.
confirmed our commitment and the time frame, because we had originally committed it over 8 months ago and nothing has
Right.
happened, so that's really the reason for the push. But it does include that there needs to be a set plan and commitment and start on it, so, and I
Does it
certainly
include
agree.
spending the money is, I think, the question.
Do we have to have the money spent by the end of the year, or can we just prove to you that we're going to spend the money in time to have a playground up by
Next year.
Memorial Day of next year?
I would bring it back
Yeah.
to review, but the reason really was making sure that something happens, wanting that commitment. If there was a commitment that, the park is, this is what it is, this is when it's starting, this is how much we're committing to it, and it's actually happening with the time frame,
Okay.
vote on it.
Thank you for the fire.
And I think,
appreciate the fire.
I'm not going to speak for Brandy, but I'm going to ask a question. They do have expertise in some of this area. I believe, is that true, Brandy? That if we were to create a task order to commit them to do work, that would be a big step forward. Because right now, we have not done that and have not spent any money to make any of that come together, right? Because that is a commitment of funds that has to be
What work
made.
would be, what's the scope of work?
So, to design the park with the best attributes of where they should be located and how, right?
Excellent topography that we're not seeing.
I mean,
I'm just looking at an aerial
They
picture right
did
now.
it, they did a sketch, which
Uh-huh.
was shared with all of you, that showed if you moved it where the work group said you could push the gazebo to use the amphitheater. Again, whatever happens to the amphitheater, as I mentioned before Nancy got here, they have some sentimental value into wanting to
Gazebo.
keep it, but they are not tied to it completely to say that we can't demo it and move things and continue to move things forward and make a schedule with a commitment to do something in a more amphitheater style way. But I think where this work group ended last time was we're at the point where we need to start bundling things together, right? And get true cost estimates, but we should.
We have the cost estimates.
I feel
But we
like
should
them
go
here.
forward with, we should go forward with whatever the design is so that they can work with a design.
I think, just to back up, the first thing is, if you ask somebody to move a gazebo from A to B, that's not really park design. What we want, what we're saying is, we're advocating to get somebody in, get new eyes on this, have doesn't care about this proposal or that proposal, and this is how they think the park would be best laid out. Because that's an independent opinion, that would, I think, yield the best result. And then, once we get that, then sure, we can start the bundling process.
Does
And
Time
someone
Bond
who
have
actually
expertise to do that?
specializes in park design.
Pardon?
Someone who actually specializes in
Yes.
park design.
Not an
expert.
engineer.
What I asked Randy was, do they have that expertise?
So Ty and Bond is a multidisciplinary firm. We have a landscape architecture practice within our firm. We do a lot of park design. We're doing one in construction right now, very, very similar to this. So we do have the expertise in-house that we could bring to bear. The only thing I would say though to Eleanor's comment is, we would take our cue from you guys as to what you want for process. So if the thought process is to re-envision the whole space, usually that's not us telling you what to do. It's us saying, here's what's available in that space. What does the community want? Who are the user groups? What sort of accessibility concerns do we have? And then there's a public process usually, an engagement process. And Lydia knows all about the engagement process, but the community generally wants to have some feedback, and out of that you come up with maybe 2 concepts, and then you price those and you say these are what we want.
I feel like we have those 2 concepts. I definitely feel like we need the public comment, but I don't feel like, I feel like we need to look at these 2 things apples to apples, right? Because
So the 50 by 50 square foot area, apples to apples, or the whole park?
Well, I think so as far as I'm understanding it, we're basically looking at some kind of phased execution here, right? We're looking at doing this in stages so that we can move it along expeditiously, if I'm not incorrect. Mostly, also because we want to apply for grants, right? So if we start the process and we spend some money and we have something going, doesn't it make it easier to apply for grants as well?
And you need to know how much you're applying for.
And you need to know how much you're applying for, of course. So, I kind of feel like the Parks Committee is at a point right now where they could be talking with the Lions and looking at the Lions proposal. Like, everyone just needs to get together right now and present it to the public.
We've already done this. We've already done everything that you've talked about. We've talked to the engineer, we've talked to the Lions, we have commitment with them, we've worked with them, we have your costs, we have everything. We need the village to act on this.
So,
We need it to be a commitment.
Michelle, you've given us a really nice description of this 50 by 50 square foot area, but what I'm not seeing is an overall plan for the park.
A master site plan.
Yeah.
In our presentation that we gave you probably a few months ago, that was in there as well. But this was just presented for the kiddie area. That
Right.
was what was asked.
So my concern is, are we putting the kiddie, my big question, and I have really no opinion on this, are we putting the kiddie, are we about to spend anywhere from $72,000 to $150,000 to build a kiddie area in the right spot on the park?
But isn't that what the site designer is going to do, right?
Lydia,
this
I'm
is the first
totally with
step.
you. I
Right.
understand what you're saying.
Right.
But what happened was, all of a sudden, we're hurtling down the road where we've got a plan, we're going to move the gazebo and all this stuff, and it's like the Parks Committee said, whoa, let's talk to some other vendors, and we did. We didn't just talk to one vendor, we talked to several vendors, we got some alternative designs.
Right, and my concern isn't, whether or not it has a communications board or a tactile thing, it's all wonderful, and I'm really grateful that you guys have done the thinking on this. That's not what I'm concerned about. What I'm concerned about is, is this park, the way it is laid out, or the way we want it to be laid out, the best sort of overall functionality for what the community needs, right? We use that park for playground, kids walk through it to get to school, we use it for rallies, we use it for gatherings, we use it for picnics. Is it laid out in the best way with all of the appropriate drainage and all of the things that we need to have a functioning park? In the best way for the community, and then what actually goes into the 2 to 5-year-old kiddie area feels like important details, but details, and I feel like we haven't nailed down the bigger question. And the only reason that I'd like to nail down the bigger question in advance of figuring out what goes into the 50 by 50 foot area is just, I don't want to build that 50 by 50 foot area in the wrong spot. And so I think you're right. I think we do need a plan. I think we need a park designer. Whether the advantage of Ty and Bond is that we then don't have to go out for an RFP to find one, and they have landscape designers. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to, if we're looking for a site designer, right, if that's our first step, because this seems like that seems to be the one recommendation everyone has. right? That we need a site designer. I'm perfectly happy to look at a proposal by Time Bond, but I'd like to see proposals from other people. Just because we don't need
Well, then
to
you
get
gotta go out
RFP.
So my only
And you
concern
wanna-
with that, speaking of the urgency of the 50 by 50 square foot area, is, it takes a month, to get the proposals back. We have to come up with a proposal, we have to pass the proposal, we have to get the proposal back. Like, we won't even have a site designer, like, thinking about this until August.
Is that the case?
Yeah.
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 If we put
Because
this out for bid,
we'd have to go out.
we'd have to go out for bid.
Well, we can get feed, we don't have to go out for a total quote. I mean, we can do an informal, we can talk to some people informally.
I think if we've done that, and this small work group was focused on trying to pull together, like I said, get everybody on the same page. What this work group did agree to was, from a design point of view, and from community input, from both those organizations, and shade from the tree and all this other kind of stuff, it was best to move the proposed area closer to the other area, wherever that is, right? And that can be all done in a design. But regardless of that, that impacts then where the gazebo would have to go. And the question about how we would then work with
Well,
moving
we're
the
talking,
gazebo. 1 second. So I think the decision, there's two decisions I'm hearing. One is, first, if we go down this path, we're accepting the fact that we're not going to do it this year,
I don't agree with that.
right? Well,
Which path?
if we go down the path of hiring an outside consultant to come forward with more plans and more recommendations to get it done, till we get to the final plan is going to be a couple months down the road.
Well, I mean, Time Bond already has this right here. Like, we could ask them to come up with perhaps like a couple more, and then we just have a public hearing about it, and we make a decision, and then like we figure out, once we know where the 50 by 50 square foot area is, we then figure out the drainage and the design and all the rest of it, and then we put that out for public comment of which people want which doodads, and then we go from there. I don't think that's going to push the timeline out so far, but I do think that if we're about to spend, anywhere from, as I said, $72,000 to $150,000 on a new playground, we're not going to move that playground, and so we should make sure it's in the spot where we want it to be. And then this is just a super detailed question, but we've received a series of questions from the public about using rubber and turf and rubber and cancer. So I at least, you don't need to answer this question tonight, but I'm at least going to need some answers on that before we go ahead with a plan that includes rubber. So I would suggest that it seems like the Parks Committee has done a really good job of kind of incorporating all of the comments that have been received, including with this like little work group and everything. And so now just the question is, where do we want to put this playground?
And let's create a task order, let's have Time Bond, let's create a task order, bring the task order in. We can vote on what that cost will be and what the deliverables are, and move forward.
I just want to say that this space for the kiddie area was going to go in the existing space for the entire time that we spoke about it, up until just a few months ago, when it was presented by Mr. Rick Lewitt, who said that he went down there to the park, took a look, decided on his own will that it could be moved and that was a good idea. When we looked at the plans, we said, yes, we like that, but it shouldn't be the deciding factor for the kiddie area. It's just another stop to prolong something happening.
I think what we're trying to say is that hopefully having an overall design for the park, we can do that efficiently enough that it won't actually prevent a new kiddie playground from being up and functioning by next summer. That is my goal. I mean, we're government, but I do think we're capable of making decisions quickly if we need to.
When's the last time you made a decision on this park? When's the last time we put any money on this park? I've been working on this park for 4 years. The start of my PTSO term. 4 years, no money, nothing changes. Something has to change, and that's what I'm asking for today.
So, Michelle, you're asking us to have something ready for kids to play on by Memorial Day of 2027, from what I understand.
I'm asking for you to start the project, to start it.
Yeah, that's what,
Start it, not
nobody's.
think about the gazebo for the next 6 months, to actually like start figuring this out.
Michelle, I am not suggesting that we spend 6 months thinking about this gazebo. I'm saying that we do a very sort of quick and dirty conversation.
It's quick and dirty, there it is, that's what you guys do all the time, quick and dirty. You want to have conversation, right?
We have a,
So you haven't put a dime on the table. You're talking about spending 180 grand, but no village money. You haven't committed any money,
in a long time to the parks.
have you?
So would the Parks Committee find it to be, for expediency, an acceptable next step to task Time Bond to come up with, like, under your guidance, right? Because I think this is, I think you guys have the expertise. It's why we have a Parks Committee, right? I mean, we have a Parks Committee to listen to you guys, for you guys to figure this stuff out, to make these recommendations, right? So if the next step was to ask Ty and Bond, under your to present to you those recommendations, and then have the next step from that be a public hearing for the commentary that would determine what budget items we're then voting on?
We have to create the task order and vote on the task order. That's
Right,
the
so,
only thing.
but that would be the next
So-
one. That would be the first task
Right,
order.
so-
We would have to, I can't make this decision for the Parks Committee. You know, this is a committee, and so I would have to go back. I mean, we don't have the task order right now anyway, so we're looking at.
But technically, your next recommendation was a site designer.
Yeah, that was.
And if they're saying they can do the site design, and that's the fastest way for us to get it done,
Well, our recommendation, actually out of desperation, was keep it where it was so that we wouldn't have to get one, because everybody kept saying the price is too high. So we.
So I'm going to
so
stop
we're
that,
listening.
Eleanor. At our last meeting, we all voted.
We didn't vote.
Yes, we did.
We didn't vote.
Not our last village board meeting, the working group meeting.
We didn't
We
vote.
all agreed that the best logical plan was to move the kiddie area closer
And
to the
then
other
we-
one, to get the shade of the
We
trees.
went back and I did some measurements, and I found out that that's not as easy as it sounds. The 50 by 50 just does not drop in there as neatly as it appeared.
We agree, things have to change. to make
Yes,
that
we
work.
did agree. We did like that plan, but we don't think that it's the best plan for that area and for the kiddie area.
So you're bringing in a new plan from what we discussed.
The existing
That's fine.
plan.
No,
That's fine. You're
we're
bringing
going
in a
back
new
to the
pro-
other plan.
1% time. We're bringing in a new concept that was brought in from the last time we spoke, right? Now we're saying you want a site designer. We can hire a site designer. We can create a task order. We can do the work, and we can try to move this thing along. But in this case, I kind of agree with Paul. You know, we need to start executing at some point, right? And if we keep saying, well, we need a site designer, and then we need this, and then we need that, and we need this, we're not going to get this thing done. And it's going to take longer than we all realize because something else will come up. When I was at the March 10th meeting, we said our goal was to do this something by the end of the year, and we could go out and time it so that we could get a grant to make it happen, have the Lions Club contribute the funds. Unfortunately, the work group has another party who has another concept, so now we have to take that into consideration. So the question is, Fran, I'm sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot, Fran, but I'm glad you're here. If we were to say, create a task order, what's the turnaround time?
Oh, we can have you mean for like an alternatives analysis?
So that we could we have it by our next meeting in June?
Could you have the
Task order
alternatives?
with deliverables. I mean, you have to define what the deliverables are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we would want to understand from you all, like, do we do an option that is basically, to Michelle's point, just rebuild the kiddie park in its current location, simple, right? It's just sort of like replacing in kind. And then, you know, do we want to, like, 3 options is sort of a common thing. One that's shady and one that's maybe totally different. And you're moving all the different pieces around. So yeah, we could come back to you with a task order for that by your next meeting for sure.
When we spoke to Liberty Parks, we didn't say we want this, or, you know, we gave them some broad things that we were looking for, but we didn't say that we wanted, you know, park to look, we didn't even know what we wanted the park to look like, and yet I thought he came up with a creative design. I'm not looking for either we put it in the 50 by 50 or we put it by the tree. I'm looking at somebody who has expertise in parks and can look at that and say, okay, I envision the kiddie park over there and I envision something over there, and and yes, we have a choice. We can still go back to one of the other alternatives. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but let me ask a question, because, so the Parks Committee has already gone through a big process to select equipment. Usually, a process with the public is about selecting the equipment. You guys already have like your kiddie node, essentially, that you want. My understanding from listening to the board is not to change the pieces of playground equipment that are being selected. It's how does all of the activity on the park work together? Is that my
Yes,
understanding
but-
what you're all wanting?
Yeah, I'm just
That's
saying,
my question.
yeah, I'm just saying, I don't want this to be that, okay, Ty and Bond, you give us 3 alternatives. One, you put the kiddie park there, one, you put it there, and one, you put it there. I want somebody, you've got, some RLAs, so I want them to look at it and say that, oh, this would be a neat way for stuff to fit together, without any input, me not telling them where I want the kiddie park, nobody telling them where, you know what I'm saying?
So typically, the communities that we work with where we do playground work, the communities are very clear about what pieces of equipment they want.
Well, yeah, that's not what I'm saying.
And you have done that work.
I'm not saying that.
Right, I understand. And then it's how do all those pieces relate to one another and the other elements in your park? So what I'm trying to understand from you guys is, have you already said, we really like how this 50 by 50 area works together, we're happy with that, we want to see how that node works with the older kid play node, works with the shade spaces, works with the walkway, in a couple of different configurations? Or are you like, we're not married to 50 by 50, we want these elements of play somewhere in the park? Have your designers lay them out. So maybe the geometry of the space changes to something that's more elongated as opposed to something that's a square. I don't know, that's for the landscape architects to talk through with you, but I just want to understand kind of like the magnitude of what you're looking for. Is it about the active zones in the park and understanding how they all work together, or is it about the specific pieces of play throughout the park?
Well, that's actually an interesting question, because right now we have it designed as, sort of 2 to 5-year-olds contained in a 50 by 50 foot space, and like this is where they play, right? And please nobody lose their minds, because this might sound like we're blowing the top off of this whole thing, but like if there's an opportunity to sort of design the overall playground area, 2 to 12-year-old, I know you want them separated, but in a way that is a little bit more, topographically natural.
We actually have a landscape architect right here, who works for New York State Parks, and who is on our Parks Committee.
Oh.
Want a little
Hello.
feedback?
Sure.
But I just want to just address one thing really quickly. We have been thinking about this park for 4 years. It took us 3 years to get the $200,000 grant to handle the drainage issues. And we couldn't do anything in this park until we resolved the drainage issues. And so I know it's not the stuff that you can look at and touch and feel and play on, but the park was drowning every spring, and we had to do something about that before we spent any money on the stuff that's on top of the grass. So I ask the public to just remember that we have been working on this park, and that had a series of very expensive infrastructure problems that we had to resolve. And so, we are now at this next step, and I'm grateful that we are now at this next step. So, thank you.
I'm back to my original comment. I'd like to make a motion to create a task order by time block.
I'd like to hear from the landscape
We need to
architect.
hear from her.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the landscape architect who's been thinking
I
about
will withhold my motion.
this. Yeah.
So yeah, I've been helping out the Parks Committee.
Why don't you come up so we can all hear you? Nobody else knew you were here.
Yeah.
Hi, Trevor Saxa, landscape architect, village resident. father of kid. So I've been helping out over the years in a limited capacity to try to help improve our public spaces. I'm somewhat restricted on the availability of my bandwidth and the things that I can help out with, but trying to do.
You're employed by who?
New York State Parks.
Right, so you can't,
So I need to be deliberate
You wanna
on
be
what
very
I'm
careful here.
involved with and not involved with. So very, very well aware of that, and committees, Eleanor's been great to work with as far as managing those limitations. So I think, take a step back to some of the previous discussions and presentations that the committee's had, and personal opinion as a designer, the best case scenario, to Lydia's point, that you're strongly pushing for, you start with an overall master plan. So it's not beneficial to rush into modular implementation without having an idea how all the jigsaw pieces fit together. Now, I understand there's varying pushes and pulls involved in here. I think that's where we've had a few iterations over time, trying to modify what's being proposed and what we think is realistic based on time constraints, budget constraints, preference constraints. So what Michelle presented tonight, and thanks for the whole committee for putting this together, was really focused on showing that short-term momentum, because Paul, and I'm sure plenty of other people over the past 4 years, frustrated with the progress that's being made. So this presentation was kind of catered toward getting that equipment committed to, proving to the Lions that there's momentum and appreciation for their commitment. So I think if we engage, whether it's Time Bond or whoever's working on an overall site design, that can be done somewhat expediently. There's been a lot of public input over the last 4 years with school input. Kids did some great designs, and some of those considerations were incorporated as we kind of melded a handful of proposals, including the Lions Club work with game time. So I think within a few months, so I'm not 100% familiar on what the procedural limitations are with your group, but if we come up with a relatively defined scope for Brandy and the team to go back to, come up with 2 or 3 modifications of how all these elements blend together, and I don't think we're looking for a major overhaul of the park. We know the 5 to 12-year-old playground equipment is likely going to be there for a few more years, but it is toward the end of its useful life. So that's going to need to be replaced in the somewhat near future. And I think Eleanor and Michelle both touched on that we need to plan for that eventuality. You're not going to replace that equipment with the exact same equipment and the exact same footprint. So that's part of the consideration when you're seeing how these things fit together. The trees, the shade that they provide, major benefit to a lot of the activities in the space. You got to protect the roots of those trees. You don't want to compact the soil on top of those roots. I think conceptually, having the 2 to 5-year-old area in the gazebo area, if we're starting over, having the 2 to 5-year-old equipment in the gazebo area makes sense from a cohesion standpoint and a safety standpoint with the overall playground design. Obviously,
When you
there's
say in the gazebo area, can you,
where the current gazebo is.
okay, got it.
So if, let's say that gazebo weren't there,
Yep,
or were replaced or relocated elsewhere,
okay,
that would make sense to have the 2 to 5-year-old equipment that's been in these proposals to be in that area.
right.
Obviously, there's considerations related to that gazebo, but I think there's a positive opportunity for shifting the event space to the eastern portion of the parcel, as was in the sketch that was provided, with some type of, whether it's a stage or a gazebo or some type of structure with the facing south-southwest and utilizing that bank along North Park Road?
North Park.
North Park Road. So I think conceptually that all makes sense. What can get lost in the shuffle as you're looking at all the elements that are going to be plopped onto a plan when you're looking two-dimensionally is the three-dimensional element. So especially being a public space with playgrounds, there are a lot of very fine considerations, dimensions, accessibility, safety, that need to all meld together because a few inches can make a big difference in compliance or non-compliance. So again, back to Lydia's concern about making a major investment without fully understanding how the components go together, how the drainage goes together, the vegetation. I don't think it's a big lift to sort this all out in a matter of kind of a few months with some practical choices, but I think now's the time to iron out those wrinkles rather than trying to shoehorn something in because, like you said, that equipment's not moving.
So thank you. So I'm back to my original
Yeah.
motion, which is to task
Thank
Ty and
you.
Bond.
Yeah, really appreciate your comments.
Task Ty and Bond to come up with that conceptual plan, which is kind of what this whole work group pulled together, which was that conceivable plan without factoring in safety and all the other elements to do. So I'd like to make a motion again to ask Ty and Bond to come back with a task order, to come back with that conceptual plan and with the deliverables.
I just have a question. Do we have a top on the task order? How much is the task order
Hold
going to be?
hold on, he hasn't gotten a second to that motion.
Oh,
Yeah. Do I have a second?
I would like to follow the recommendation of the Parks Committee. If their recommendation is to have a park design, is this the logical next step for you guys? Is this going to move you guys forward?
Eleanor,
what they've
Michelle,
asked for.
feel free to chime in, but I think this is the logical next step. We take the pieces that we've presented, we see how that fits into the overall scheme of the park, make sure we're considering the stormwater drainage, the under drains for the equipment. I think Gary mentioned having a cap on the under drain that could tie in very feasibly to the existing stormwater system, which I know the stormwater system's already laid out on a plan, but all those pieces need to be overlaid and integrated together. The equipment and the overall footprint of what the Parks Committee's proposed here can easily be melded into that. And Brandy mentioned that too, is we don't have to be locked to a 50 by 50 square. That was just for estimating purposes and for ease of visualization, because everybody knew what that existing 50 by 50 looked like spatially. So we could take that same equipment or very similar equipment, integrate it around the other site constraints, and I see very feasibly the equipment could be procured and installed by Memorial Day 27, but we would all have more confidence that it's in the appropriate location.
So excuse me, but the way the process works, I get a second, then we go into discussion.
Right, but you didn't get a second.
I didn't get a second.
Yeah, we had some questions about the motion. Yeah. I will now second that motion.
Discussion. Any more discussion?
We would need the task order back by,
Next
in
meeting.
time to vote on it on the next meeting. We did not budget for this in this year, so we're gonna have to figure out where to find the money for it, and obviously we need to figure out a way to have.
We still have money in the parks,
Yeah, Eleanor, you were saying that there's some parks, there's some in the.
We have a capital fund
Right,
that we could use,
okay.
yes.
There's what?
Plus 9,000.
Yeah, 9,500, right?
9,500? So
9,500.
the question, I think, for Brandy is sort of like how much and how quickly, right? You know,
Well, I asked previously, yes.
right, I mean,
Sounds like quickly and
and cheap.
very efficiently.
Cheap and cheerful.
Family discount.
Right.
But we have to vote on the task order.
And
That's something we have to do.
Yes.
And we can't do that until the next meeting.
Right.
And is the Parks Committee going to define the scope of work and, I mean, are you working with the Parks Committee?
We certainly can, yeah, of
We,
course.
we actually scheduled a tentative meeting in case something came out of here that we would have to act on.
We have a meeting tomorrow. The work group has a meeting. The work group has a meeting tomorrow,
Okay.
right, based on the outcome of theirs.
Okay, so about this, is the Lions master plan conversation going to be under the authority of the working group or of the Parks Committee?
No, the working group was only a temporary thing to try to pull everybody together, come up with a concept.
Okay.
Obviously, you've seen some differences of opinions.
Yeah.
The work group did decide on a particular path to move forward with. You're seeing a change to that particular path. So I think the work group essentially should say, it's up to the board and we move forward. Let the board vote on the task force. Let the board then decide if the park committee, which is the right thing, and let's get a plan and a schedule. That's my opinion.
Great. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. And that moves us forward, Parks Committee, we're happy?
So wait, any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Discussion over, we're moving on.
Thank you for the presentation.
Very
Thank you for your
much.
expertise. Thank all of you for volunteering.
And
listening.
thank Brandy.
And listening. Thank you, Brandy.
I'm going to make a change to the schedule because Brandy has another commitment
Yeah.
this evening. So I would like to move forward to a discussion of the East Market Street crosswalk, if that's okay with everybody. So we can get her out, she can make her next meeting.
Okay.
Everybody in favor of doing that?
Yes.
All right,
Thank you.
Brandy?
Sure. What would you like me to cover with the crosswalk? Just
Well,
like
there's some
in the
to-dos.
study?
Here's the plan, and there's some to-dos that we have to do, right?
Sure.
So we need to understand what
If
those
I can
to-dos
plug
are.
in there, I can show you a couple of them.
Okay, yeah, if you can plug in, do you know how to?
I know your next meeting doesn't start till 7:30. When are you on? You know?
Just let them know I'll be there by 8-ish.
Okay,
That's
all
what
right.
I-
So let's get moving forward.
There's that HDMI cable already. Thank you. So, let's see, hopefully this will work. Okay. I think that's right, yes? Okay.
I don't know how to get rid of this thing on the bottom, but maybe it'll just go
That's
on.
okay. I'll scroll as necessary. So,
Sorry, is there any way to make that any bigger?
let me see what I can do. I wasn't gonna make you read it. It's more up for my purposes. But so, about a month ago, actually, let's see, it was on April 28th, we undertook a crosswalk evaluation at 2 locations. And this is all in response to the fact that the DOT is going to be paving East Market Street. And as part of the paving, it's timely to put in curb ramps and crosswalks across East Market Street, and the DOT will do some of that for us if we provide them a crosswalk study that indicates, what some of the restrictions are at the crosswalk, and how many users there are in those areas. The question of users, you guys will love, is like a chicken and an egg, right? Like, there are people crossing there now, even though there's no marked crosswalk, so the volume is probably likely to increase if we mark it as a crosswalk and enhance it with some safety features. But for now, what we did was we took a look at 2 locations on East Market Street. The first being right here at Village Hall, at Center Street and East Market Street. And when we do a crosswalk study, We're looking at three primary things. We're looking at the volume of traffic along the roadway that you're crossing. We're looking at the sight lines. So as a pedestrian, when you get to the point of crossing and you look right and you look left, what are the obstructions? Can you see? What's that visibility? That's called your line of sight. And then we're also looking at how many people are using that space. So we actually went out and we did counts of pedestrians, and we differentiated between adult pedestrians and child pedestrians, just recognizing that there is some synergy with the Safe Routes to School project also. So we've got that information. And so what the findings were at the Center Street and East Market Street location was that you generally have pretty good sight lines. What we would recommend is that to have this location striped, let me back up. The volume of pedestrians that were counted at this crosswalk were 247 adults, and I believe it was 34 or 24 children, so it was about 276 people. And at the peak hour, it was, what was it, 48? I don't have my split screen up. So I think it was 48 people at the peak hour, which was from 1 to 2, which I thought was a little bit strange on a Tuesday. But that seemed to be the peak. This crosswalk has relatively good sight lines, but what we would recommend is restricting parking along the curb line to improve the crosswalk sight distance, which would result in the loss of a couple of on-street parking spaces. I know, I'm sorry. As you know, last year's construction project to put in the 88 curb ramps, those curb ramps are all DOT compliant and they're in really good shape, so there's no issues there. So we think this is probably a good candidate for a crosswalk. There's definitely usage. Our traffic engineer who prepared this study, he was the one who pointed out, like, it's not marked, people are crossing there anyway. So there's obviously a desire, but if we mark it and we add signage, that it's probably going to see an increase. So really important to pair the crosswalk with the right safety improvements, including the restriction on parking, so you've got that sight line, and then adding the flashing beacons. Okay. So that, does anybody have any questions about Center Street and East Market?
The flashing beacons are also audible, right?
They can be made audible, yes.
Are they required to be audible?
That I do not know, but I can get back to you on that.
We need to have a longer conversation, not right now, about the flashing beacons.
And we've had this discussion, about
Oh, yeah.
do we want them in the village center
Right,
in a residential kind of area?
right. And there's some very strong opinions from the folks who are on the comp plan side of things about that question. So
Yeah,
we don't have to talk about it now.
Yeah, and I don't, it's not a requirement, it's a recommendation, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there are many different styles, but signage of some sort
Oh, yeah.
is necessary.
Signage is fine.
And
Yeah.
all of it is very bright, and this is an issue we come up with quite often, is
Yeah.
that the aesthetics of it are intended to really grab your eye, which in a historic village is not always what you want to do, so. All right, so that is.
You only have that crosswalk on one side of the street. I thought if we did a DOT crosswalk, we had to have it all four ways.
We don't have to have it all four ways. We looked at the primary way.
Okay.
Seemed like the volume was preferentially on this west side, so that's where people seem to desire to cross. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
But we could stripe the village streets on our own if we wanted
The
to.
village streets,
Yeah,
yeah.
the two-
Places to cross.
On Center Street we can do,
State.
and that's on us.
Yeah,
She only needs to address
the
what's
state,
on
right?
308.
Okay. But the state doesn't require both of those to be.
They aren't gonna require both.
Okay.
Yeah. Which may help with the signage too.
Yeah.
Then the second intersection we looked at is Parsonage. I think it's right where South Parsonage and North Parsonage change direction. So let's call it Parsonage Street, where Parsonage Street crosses East Market Street. In this case, the volume was slightly lower. Our data shows that there are 93 school children that live on the north side of East Market Street, so there's probably a demand. What we saw in terms of children crossing though was somewhat lower than that. I believe it was 102 adults and 34 children. In the peak hour, which was from 11 to 12 on that same Tuesday, so earlier, maybe that's skewed towards younger children walking with parents. I'm not, entirely sure.
What particular day?
All the counts were done on Tuesday, April 28th.
The school in session, I think.
Yes. Yeah. So the goal is to choose an average day. Yeah. And so here too, the curb ramps here are different. These curb ramps need to be adjusted, but that could happen as part of the DOT project. But this would provide for a crosswalk that would connect to the main route that most kids are taking down Parsonage Street to head to school.
How many parking spots would we have to kill?
I believe this one was 4. The sightlines here are much worse because the parking is closer up to the corner. The sightlines were limited to about 90 feet, and we really want them to be at 30 miles an hour. We want them to be closer to 200.
What would it be if it was 25 miles an hour?
I would have to get back to you on that. I don't know.
Okay.
That's a good question. No.
I'll calculate that.
There's a chart you have to consult, and I don't have it with me, but.
Okay.
So, this is in draft form. We've shared it with you all for just discussion and then feedback. The next step would be to finalize it, if you wanted us to, and send it to the DOT with a request to actually move forward with the installation commensurate with their paving when they come back and they do some striping. But I think we want to understand what it means for parking in the village on street. Particularly with the residential properties there, and how we may want to talk to property owners and discuss the reason we're making the changes. We may if we have to cut things back and we can't do the reductions on street parking because of the demand by the residents, we would need to finalize that information in this report and let DOT know that we can't meet the sightline requirements by restricting parking.
And then we would lose.
So that's kind of the decision point for you guys, because I know the parking is really always in demand here.
Okay.
So did you do Mulberry?
We did not do Mulberry. No.
Because that's the third one that the DOT is going to put the ramps in.
Okay.
I thought DOT was also going to do beach.
No, I think it's yes, because Center's done, so it's
Beach, Parsonage,
Mulberry,
and
Parsonage, and Beach.
Okay, so they're going to do all 3 of those intersections, whether or not we get permission to actually paint crosswalks.
They're going to put the curb ramps in.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
they won't make it an official crosswalk until this.
Okay, cool. But the decision on this is not going to hold up their work on that.
Well,
Correct.
Well, it would
Right.
stop them from completing and doing the painting.
Right.
It would
'Cause
stop
they-
them from painting, but
'cause
it
they're
wouldn't
not-
stop them from building the really expensive
Correct.
things that we don't want to.
But they're not going to come back and do the painting.
Okay, that's fine.
They want to do it now, one time.
And that I fully support, but I'd rather have if we have to think about this for a hot minute, I'd rather have the painting be what we're responsible for, not the curb cuts. As a result of the delay, so I just wanted to make sure that they're still doing the curb
I want to
cuts.
say, was it a year or so ago, we talked about putting a different style crosswalk, and I think we gave you guys some costs on some
That was for the
O&M.
Center Street.
Yeah.
Center Street.
And so should I dig that out again?
Not bad, it's anywhere from if we did it ourselves, it was like 10 grand or something.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But the DOT wants you to commit to maintaining the signage and the painting once they put it in the one
Yeah,
time.
in this case, they would pay for it and do it. If
And then-
we wait, we pay for it.
Right, okay.
So that's kind of
That's
the key
the
difference right
benefit
now.
for
Yeah.
you to do it.
Which times 3 of painting.
Yeah, no, that adds up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we need to have some conversations with some property owners.
So what is I want to make sure I understand what our to-do is. And our to-do is what?
So, as we're showing on this graphic, there is a parking restriction, so you've got yellow painted curbs just in the immediate area through the curb radius. And we're showing on the graphic the need to extend that an additional distance. And at Parsonage and East Market Street is extending it in 4 direction, or let's see, along 4 curb lines parallel with East Market Street. So I could get you the addresses, maybe that would help, just say, we're gonna need to extend the curb restriction in front of these addresses. And
It's more than just yellow painting, because yellow painting is not really a requirement, it's a sign.
it's the yellow painting with a sign that says no parking this point forward,
Yeah.
yeah, correct.
And I guess my other question is, your quote that you gave us did not include Mulberry?
It didn't, no, Rick only told us,
I don't know why,
yeah, Center and Parsonage.
I don't know why he didn't, maybe he assumed they're gonna automatically do Mulberry?
I'm
But
not
that's
sure.
not,
I'll go
that's
back
not my
and talk to-
understanding.
Okay.
Well, and if they're cutting curbs at Beach, it'd be nice if we had a.
I will go back and confirm with them if they're really gonna cut, make sure,
Okay,
because where I stand right now is they're definitely gonna do they're gonna do Mulberry and Parsonage.
right,
That's a definite.
right, okay. Okay, and I don't want to speak for anybody who might jump down my throat, but most of our parking concerns in the village are closer to the village center. So I don't see the general public being outraged about restricting some of this parking.
Yeah.
But I do think I do think we need to make sure that we have fulsome conversations with the people who live on those intersections.
Okay. Do you want the addresses? The part we could add on the graphic, the parcel street address, and then
Yeah.
you would be able to see like where the restriction is currently and where the additional is, and it's going to be 1, 2, or 3 spaces depending on which segment of the travel lane we're looking at.
Yeah, if you can just sort of show on the map sort of where the sign would be,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Is it possible to go back and do Mulberry? Because
Let
that
me-
was one of the ones that was the highest one on their list to do.
Let me check with the team on that.
Can you?
Yep.
Because they're gonna put in the curb ramps
Okay.
and
So, could you help me understand, because I thought we had pretty good information from Rick on where the preferred location for the crosswalk?
our preferred was Parsonage, their preferred was Mulberry.
But Mulberry, on the east side of Mulberry or the west side of Mulberry? Or
They
did it
didn't-
not matter?
They
Just
didn't
pick whichever
dictate
was the best?
where the crosswalk had to be.
Okay.
They just dictated that we needed to get the permit, get the work done so that they get the permit and we can get it done.
Understood. Let me ask, what's like, as a resident, what's the most desirable side?
I mean, the
Like,
existing one is currently on the west one.
So it's going to the old school?
Wait,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
where are you talking about?
The-
Mulberry?
Yeah, the existing.
Mulberry.
Yeah, the existing
Mulberry.
crosswalk at Mulberry is on the
Mulberry's
west side of the
not,
intersection.
Mulberry's not in the plan right now for a crosswalk because they didn't do it.
No,
We
but
don't
you're
have it,
asking
but what
them
I'm
to do it.
Yeah,
asking
yeah.
is if we
Oh,
right.
go back and do
Yeah.
it, which side of the.
Oh, I thought your question
street?
was, did the DOT's
So
recommend
one
that?
side goes to the church, right, and the other side
Yes.
goes to the
To
school.
the school. And so, I mean, like, the crosswalk was probably there for the purposes of the school.
Right.
But now we might want to consider having it for the purposes of the church.
Which makes more sense.
That
Okay.
was DOT's requirement for wanting to put in the ramps there was because of the church.
I think that's a great idea,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so if we look at it, we'll take our measurements specifically from the east side, which would be consistent.
And Parsonage, it's logical to line up with the sidewalk for the Citrus School,
Yes.
which would be the east side.
Yeah.
Right. And Center Street, we know is gonna be the west side.
Yeah.
Your recommendation is the west side.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a question, Lydia, are you sure that people wouldn't be upset at losing parking? Because it just seems like there's more and more yellow striping. I'm just asking.
Well, I mean, most of the pressure that we get from the public on parking is frankly everything to the left of this particular map. The only time we get pressure about parking sort of further into the residential districts is on days like Citrus Blossom.
Well, no, Sundays
because
at
you've
the
got
market,
Sunday, you've got-
they park all the way down to Mulberry.
You've got meetings at the, town hall where, there's.
Well, right, and so I mean, obviously we would need to talk to the town about this.
I mean, that might not be the deciding factor, but I was just
No,
curious.
I mean, I think we need to get a better handle on like how many parking spots we'd be losing, and then where the signs would go.
So for this, the reduction in parking is approximately 60 feet, and in a parallel space, that's about three spaces.
Yeah, because it's about 20 feet.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
about 3 spaces.
Okay, so we lose 3 spaces on that side.
On the north,
Right,
on the
because all of those other
northeast
spaces,
corner.
we already have restrictions on.
correct, yeah, correct.
Okay, so it's 3 spaces over there, and then what about over at Parsonage?
And then at Parsonage, so there's reduction in on-street parking on all 4 corners, so say 2 spaces on the westbound lane north side, and then 4 spaces westbound lane south, or eastbound lane south side, eastbound lane south side is 1 space, and then on the
We need a map.
north side.
Yeah.
We've lost you.
No, we haven't lost her, we are listening carefully.
3, 1,
Yeah.
4, and 2.
Oh my God, so, all right, so we now have okay, great. The balancing of competing interests, the beauty of government. Okay, thank you, Brandon.
I guess my last question is, I'm not sure, because I haven't had this conversation with DOT, how soon we need to get this permit in place.
Yeah, I mean, they keep telling us they're gonna start paving like yesterday.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to move it along, so I appreciate the time you're making tonight.
That's why I scheduled it for tonight, because
Yeah.
my anticipation is that they're going to, if we don't have the permit in by the time they start the paving, we're, pardon my
We
language,
can
SOL.
call, we haven't heard more
Yeah, I haven't
specifically
either.
what the start date is. I mean, we can certainly come back to your next meeting and chat with you, or, you know, if you guys are okay, you know.
Can I ask a weird question?
Sure.
The existing crosswalk in front of CVS doesn't have these kind of sight lines associated with it.
It probably should.
Yeah.
Oh, well, don't say any, never mind.
Forget I said anything.
Forget I asked that. Nobody said anything.
I don't know
I
how
want to
that
make it
would
on
happen.
record that Lydia made that statement.
Forget
So
that
people
question.
won't even respect the no parking restriction there, right? I mean, I come by there twice a day. at
Oh, yeah,
least,
people
and-
don't abide by the no parking restriction
Yeah.
at all, but yeah. Okay, all right, do we have this map?
You have this.
Yeah, this was emailed
I
to you.
emailed it
Okay.
to you. and it
All of
should
you
be
have
in
this,
your
all of
packet.
you have this in your email.
Okay, great.
So
Right.
what was did you send it, Brandy, or?
I sent it to you.
Oh, that's why I
Sent
can't
it to
find it.
Martina.
Okay.
and
I sent it
Gary,
to all of you.
and should have
Okay,
been-
okay, no
Yeah.
problem. Sometimes things get lost. Okay. I'm gonna figure out what I can do. Okay. All right, so when do we need to get back to you
How can
about?
I follow up with you guys?
Do we need to have a decision to you by, like, before the next meeting? I mean, how do we need to handle
I
this?
think they're gonna start paving any day.
No, I think,
So
yeah.
I don't know if we can even wait till the next meeting to make a decision, because it may be too late. That's my concern, and I don't have a date.
Right, okay,
But there is pressure
right.
to get this in and get it done so we can get the permit. Because once you even file for the permit, it takes a while for it to be approved.
Right.
So we're really under the gun right now to move
Okay.
forward with this.
So I would suggest that, Brandy, if you could send us the addresses, and I'll take a deeper look at these maps when I find the email.
I'll
And then-
resend it to you, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And then I'm happy to work with Kyle, and Kyle and I can just go door to door on Thursday and Friday and see what we can figure out with these homeowners.
Well, I think you gotta go out and stake it, put a stake in the ground. Can engineering go put a stake in it? Can you guys
Oh, yeah.
go put a stake with a pink ribbon on it and say,
We can
this
put
is
some
where
pin
it is?
flags out and just
How
say.
about we do that?
Okay,
Get them, because then it's very visual,
yeah.
rather than you just knocking on a door.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but then once it's up,
We'll do both, and then we'll let you know when it's pinned. We can pin it probably tomorrow.
okay, great, thanks. And then Kyle and I can go for a walk on Thursday and Friday. If we don't get to people, then maybe we could go on Saturday too, and just see what we can, see what the overall tone of the conversation is. Because people feel really strongly about the crosswalks, and people feel very strongly about the parking, and I don't know how people are gonna react when they're forced to make a decision between the two. And we'll only know once we hear, so,
So the question is,
yeah, okay, great.
how are we gonna make a decision?
I'll report back in. To,
Do you want to make it contingent on the board agreeing on the parking?
Yeah,
I
I wanna
think,
just
yeah, I mean,
schedule
how
a
about,
special
how about
meeting.
contingent on a positive response, we move forward?
yeah,
How's that?
I'll make
I'd like to
that.
make a motion that we move forward expeditiously with this contingent on a positive response of the survey this week.
We're gonna move forward with what?
With the permit,
With the
with the DOT permit.
Crosswalk.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Randy, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
This is good stuff.
I'll let you guys know when those are staked.
4 days.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Don't speed to your next meeting.
What's that?
Don't speed to your next
I
meeting.
won't speak. Sorry.
All right, I'm going to go back to resolutions. So, Elmer, you presented it, you put on the agenda a 2 to 5 year old park resolution. You're up.
Basically, that's just, the resolution is just to move things forward in a way that's, constructive and efficient, that has taken everything that we've done up to this point, and that's kind of centralized, and that we can then come up with recommendations, alternatives that we bring to the board.
So is the next step after we have now, probably Randy doing the site design, we'll have a moment where there's public input?
I think that's extremely important, yes.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I had wanted to set a public hearing at this meeting, but I think now we probably should wait.
Yeah, see what
Would be
Randy's
my-
timeline is. Yeah. Okay. So would you like-
So should we wait on the resolution as well, until after we get the input and then decide?
I'd like to move forward on the resolution because we really need to be looking for grants and things like that.
Well, but you're committing to dates in the resolution and we don't have it.
I mean, the only date that we're committing to is Memorial Day 2027, and I'm comfortable committing to that date.
Same.
So the only question is, like, is there anything in here that is different than what we discussed tonight?
Well, let's, to open up the discussion, I guess I should make a motion that we accept this resolution.
Second.
All right, discussion. My only discussion is the one where I know we have the Lions Club who is committed to 50,000, all right, and we want to take advantage of that. And this resolution says the Lions Club of Rhinebeck is committed to 50,000 towards purchase of the equipment conditioned upon the village having developed and begun implementing a plan to construct a playground. And we haven't really done that yet.
Well, I mean, like, we
We
haven't done that today.
I know.
But they have committed this $50,000,
Yeah.
contingent on us doing that.
But it's the village commitment here that we haven't really voted on to move forward yet.
Oh,
It says condition upon the village having developed and begun implementing a plan.
yep,
Right?
yeah.
But I think that's the language from their letter, isn't it?
Well, and I also
Or
think,
it reflects the.
Well, I think it is, I mean, I think the board is the ultimate decider. I mean, we can
Right.
only, the Parks Committee can recommend, but we really can't make that decision.
well, and also I think as part of this conversation of getting a task order from Brandy and all of the rest of it, we are committing to this process of developing and implementing a plan to construct a playground.
Right.
You know, that's just step 5 and we're still at step 1.5.
Right. It just provides a framework for saying, yes, we're actually moving this forward. And the board has voted on this, like the board is taking a step. Yes, correct.
I just thought it was important because the Lions that the Lions have repeatedly kind of questioned, and they want to see, they want to see that.
I think it's good to acknowledge the generosity of the grant.
Yeah.
I think it's good to acknowledge that we are paying attention to the grant in something other than just conversations in these meetings.
But we have a decision from the Lions Club pending,
Yeah,
right? So we don't,
I mean,
they haven't accepted the May 27th date, the Lions Club.
and that's fine. If they decide that they don't want the Memorial Day 27, then they don't want Memorial Day 2027, right? And I have a feeling that this is going to sort of all unfold as we get more information.
Oh,
over the
correct,
course of
it
the next few
has
months.
to unfold.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm comfortable with this resolution.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're gonna move on. employee health.
Thank you, Eleanor.
Employee health insurance renewal. We discussed this at the last meeting, and we tabled the discussion pending on where the money would be spent. Just to put this back in reference, we as a village pay for our employees' health benefit. We pay 85% of the premium, 100% of the deductible. When we did the 26-27 budget, we budgeted for all of the deductibles at the increased rates. We budgeted 9% for the premium rates, and the actual premium rate went to 14%, right? So, which was not in budget. So the board asked to come back with, where is that money to be able to come from for that next step? And our CFO here, Karen, has put together a plan that shows how much would come from general fund, water fund, and wastewater fund. And Karen, do you have it in front of you, because I haven't gone back to that yet.
Yeah, I do. All right, just, as you know, we took the difference, we took that times 12, we took out 15%, we have 2 from general, 1 from water, so we itemized them out like that. General fund total would be $10,686, water fund $7,059, and sewer $3,908 would be the additional needed funds for the 26-27 budget.
The recommendation by Karen is to take it from New York Class, which has currently our investment account, which has $561,000 in it, that we, part of our investment account, rather than our contingency, because water and sewer do not have contingency funds.
Correct.
Let's go to discussion. I'm going to make a motion to accept the MVP renewal plan as recommended by our insurance provider, and that we take the necessary funds for general out of, and water and sewer out of our investment account. Do I have a
Second.
Second, all right.
Out of our
Now
investment
discussion.
account or out of fund balance? I think it's appropriate to say it's coming out of fund balance, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
technically, yes.
yeah.
But it's an investment account.
Yeah, but that's the cash conversation versus the treasury conversation.
That will close to fund balance at year end.
Yeah.
That is correct.
And we kind of did, we went back and looked at where we were, back in May, just in May, and we anticipated an estimated fund balance at May timeframe, snapshot in time, of $800,345. And on the high side, we should be at 25%, we should be at 866, right? That was in May. We still have a month, June bills to pay, which we're going through, and probably a little bit after June, so they still come in. So that number will change in terms of giving you an estimate of where we were in May for a fund balance, right? And that was in general fund. For the water fund, we had an estimated fund balance of $231,309. And for the sewer fund, we had an estimated fund balance of $457,148.
And very rough, that's just after the May 28th bills were paid.
Right.
Just to give you just a little snapshot to see where we're at.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, next, let's talk about purchasing a police car. So there's 4 bids. There's the car itself, which costs $40,465.69. That's a state bid price. We have the camera equipment of $5,482.98. We have the laptop amount of $4,105, and the uplift for the car to make it police ready is $20,360. So the total amount is $70,413.67. And we will be replacing, I didn't bring that email, the oldest car in the fleet that was emailed to all of you.
2016.
Yeah, which has a huge amount of miles, is rusting, and it's beyond its 10-year lifespan. I'd like to make a motion that we purchase the new police car for $70,413.67 from the police capital fund,
That has a balance of 97,000.
It's not just the police car, it's all those items, correct?
Correct.
Right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Now, I'm very excited and interested to talk about our next topic, which is our...
Treasurer's report?
Sorry, I stepped over you. I am excited to talk about the treasurer's report. I was going to jump right ahead, sorry. Go ahead, I'll repeat what I said. Thank you.
No
Treasurer's
problem.
report.
Karen, when was the last time you had an introduction like
Yeah.
that?
Glad you're all so excited. Actually, I am kind of excited as well because I think that so far the departments have pretty much held the line on their spending throughout the year. And like I said, we're truly trying to finish up 25-26. So I will start with May 31st. The general fund ended the month with $185,277.13. The water fund ended the month with $273,267.29, and the sewer fund ended the month with $98,756.27. Vouchers presented for payment include include the May bills and the June bills in the general fund total $132,455.98. In the water fund $121,260.13. In the sewer fund $36,143.40, and Safe Routes to School has a bill for $342. The water treatment plant upgrade, $29,508.85, and the wastewater treatment plant and sewer improvements, $20,276.18. Just asking for a motion to approve the vouchers.
So, second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, monthly operating statement is provided with revenue and expenditures through 6/9. Water and sewer, June monthly bills went out at $27,425.91. Sewer, $32,630.70, and those are due June 25th. Adjustments were signed off by Mayor Bassett and presented for approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the operating statement.
Water
Or
and
just-
wastewater.
And water.
Yeah, the adjustments.
Adjustments.
All in favor, say aye.
Well, we need a second. I'll
Second.
second.
I thought you did second it. I thought that's what you did.
Well, I started to, and then somebody.
Competing seconds.
Um,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I did have the budget amendment. I only had the one budget amendment for 26-27, which was the medical insurance. The budget amendments for 25-26, I'm just proud to say that I only separated out the fire. They're kind of in little, you can look through them, but the fire had no over budget items, so I kind of commend them for coming in and checking every month and doing budget amendments all throughout the year, so kudos to them. General fund, again, I'm just gonna go the little pieces, the negative $1,827.67, $8,202.01, $37,343.45, $57,249.22, and all of those have corresponding expense accounts that balance them out. So that's the general fund. I don't know if you want to do that and then go on, or you want me to do the whole thing?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the general fund budget amendments.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the water fund. Little different situation here. The water fund overage totals $82,706.02, and within the water fund we only have $64,304.68. That is due in part that when we did the budget amendment last month, we thought that that 308 was gonna be $65,000 to repair that, and ended up being $82,230 to repair it.
Oh,
So if you remember, this is the water shut off at Route 308.
So, again, I am very concerned about about the balances in the water and, I mean, in addition to, taking care of the budget, the annual budget, I think we need to just kind of sit down and look at that. But at this particular moment, I need $20,000 from the capital water to just balance the waterfront budget.
What happened with the insurance?
I don't know, I'm not.
With what?
The medical insurance, just because there's the negative there in the medical insurance.
That's the new year.
Oh, okay.
This is 25, 26. Oh, why do
No,
we
this
have
is-
so much left over?
no. For, in the water fund, the 25, 26, medical insurance is over budget by like $21,000.
They went to the doctor. I'm not sure. I mean,
Oh, wait, is this isn't part of their like premiums, this is part of their HSA?
both. So in August, we pull out the HRA
Yeah.
amounts. Not 100%, but we take what the balance is, we close out the year, keep paying the HRA, and then we take what the balance is, and then we just make a whole with what we need for that. And we have a pretty full staff in the water fund now. Did we have, I don't know if we had any domestic.
Is there a way to sort of, I don't know,
I mean, I think we went up to 115 for the new year. I don't have it right with me, but I think we did look at the new year and went up in the budget knowing that this,
that this happened this year?
correct.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget amendments for the water fund for 64,008, is it 18,401, or the difference is 18,000?
No, it's 82,706.02, and with the amendment to move capital water in the amount of 20,000.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Discussion?
How much does this give us with water fund balance and capital and all the rest of it?
Water fund capital, after this, 6,000.
Yeah.
And we have 30,000 in the New York class water. However, I believe
And we still have
we're going to be getting the second half
the
of
second payment.
payment. But yeah, no, I mean, when we kind of closed out last year, we looked at the fund balance and it was going down and we're concerned and, that they took on this big project and just all the extras that go with it. Like I said, I'm not judging it. That's just a check with Brian Alex on that. I mean,
We did raise water fees this year, didn't we?
no, we just raised sewer.
Yeah, we raised water, but not sewer.
No, we
We
raised
raised
sewer,
sewer,
but
not
not water.
Right, because
Because we were waiting for this project to be done, but
To
the
know what
board
we
can decide. I mean, we don't have to wait to the end of the year. If the board deems it necessary to increase the rates, they can do that.
Well, yeah, I think that's a conversation we're gonna have to have.
Let's close out the year and
Okay.
see where we're at,
Yeah.
is what would be my recommendation. Let's
Okay,
close out
I'm
the year.
just bringing it to your attention that this is the one fund that's of concern.
Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the sewer fund's looking a lot better, 51,767, and I only needed 3 line items to balance that, so sewer fund's looking good.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget amendments for our sewer funds.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then, so the only other item that I just wanted to report on, that we were working with Bonadio, and they have a platform called monday.com that we're uploading. So we're in the process of sending vendor information and filling out all of our bank information and tying out the year before we send them a balance sheet as of 5/31. So I just wanted to let you know that we have started that process, and I will keep you posted, you know, when we get a little deeper into the accounts.
And will you have some flexibility to reset, like, you know, I have a thing about the non-employee fees. Will you have an ability to go into some of those line items and put them into specific
Actually,
other
if
line
you would
items?
like to kind of go through, like I said, I don't want to have it where we're not going to move forward, but if you go through it and you see that something is in the fees on employees,
Yeah.
maybe it's specific to water, maybe it's specific to sewer,
Right.
and maybe it's not in the utilities, or it's not in the administrative.
Right.
But definitely, if you want to do that, then when we
Okay.
get to the chart of accounts,
Okay.
I'll check
Great.
with you.
Okay.
You know, and you, like I said, yes.
That'd be great, yeah,
we have
that'd be
the
really,
ability
I'd
to
be
do that.
interested in helping.
Okay, yep,
Thank you.
and that's all they have here.
Thank you, Karen. All right, now I'm going to back to something that started a few years ago when we had a Veterans Committee and a recommendation to have hometown hero banners hung in the village of Rhinebeck. We've continued to get requests for that into the village to do this. So Martina has taken upon herself, with some help, to put together an overview of this program. So we're not looking for a decision tonight, but we really want to introduce the program so that you can understand what we need to think about. So, Martina?
If you're not already familiar, the Hometown Heroes Banner program is essentially a program that recognizes veterans and active duty service members through a display of personalized banners hung throughout municipalities. Most surrounding municipalities do already do this. I've reached out to several of them and asked what their process is and their costs. There's a few things to decide, so it really is going to be dependent on what the board wants to do, because you have to establish criteria. How many banners you want posted, who is eligible to apply for a banner. Generally, most municipalities, the applicant pays for it, but you can also make that decision if the village would be willing to contribute in any way, shape, or form. We also then have to figure out how the banners get hung, how long they want to be hung, and things like that. So there's a whole list that I have here. I will make an actual proposal for you guys, but if there's any input or questions or recommendations that you would have, I'd love to have that so that I can then present you with an actual proposal for how to do this program. It's been a pet project of mine for a while that I've wanted to do, but I got 5 phone calls leading up to Memorial Day asking if we were going to be participating in it. It's a very hugely popular thing, and I think it looks personally very nice in the municipalities, and it's just a really nice way to honor veterans.
Have you talked to Sarah and Millbrook? Because they just started them last year.
No,
And they charged $250, and nobody had a problem paying the $250.
Yeah, so
It's a good piece of
the
information.
price range is like 175 up to 300. It really depends on what provider they go with, but also if they have the ability to hang the banners. So we've already briefly discussed this with Kyle. We don't have a bucket truck, so we would have to outsource that and then consider that into a potential cost. But there's a lot of different options. You'll mainly have to decide how many banners, what poles you'd want to use, how far you want to extend it out, and then what your criteria is for applicants to get the banner. Which the general recommendation is for them to provide their DD-214 to verify their service and not have a dishonorable discharge.
And be a Rhinebeck.
And be Rhinebeck, so that's the thing. It's depending on how many flags and what the area is that you want to cover. If you only have 40 banners available, then I would limit it to village residents. And if there's an outpour of village residents that are veterans, then maybe you start with village veterans who are already deceased, or But it all also depends on the people that want to apply for it, because it's their responsibility to pay for it.
Is it usually like people who were born here? Like what do we consider to be a resident?
So generally, it depends on the municipality, and this is up for you guys to decide, but a widely accepted criteria would be somebody who is a current resident at the time of application and/or their passing.
Okay. Would you mind sort of sharing a list of like the questions that we would need to answer and sort of like how other municipalities?
They're in your packet.
Oh,
They're already there for you.
So I actually didn't, unless you sent this to them, I did not send this over to them yet.
Well, it's out, isn't it out on the,
I did not.
no, then I didn't. I thought.
No,
that-
only because
I'm
there's so
sorry.
much information on here, and I actually want to present you with a proposal, but,
Are there some best practices? Like, are there some things, is there like guidance from other municipalities? that
Yeah,
said
I'll
this
forward
work?
this
Oh,
to you,
okay,
that
it's
sheet.
all
yeah,
there.
so
Has all
I
that.
gathered different information from other municipalities, but, I've looked into this a lot, and as of that myself, I definitely have some recommendations.
I'd love to hear, yeah, it would be helpful, it would be helpful to hear them.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So really you'll want to determine who it is that you want to be able to apply. My recommendation would be for any person that can apply that is a veteran, they have to provide their DD 214 to show that they served, and they have to have, they can have any discharge other than a dishonorable discharge.
And be a resident of Rhinebeck.
Correct. And
At the time of service or
at the time of application.
application?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it goes up once for a certain amount of time and
So
then
that's
cycles
dependent on what you guys
out,
want to do.
or-
A lot of municipalities do it from
Memorial
Day
to
to
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day.
Oh, right.
Right.
That's
Because
a nice bookend.
Yeah. I like that.
these banners get very heavily weathered. They don't normally make it throughout
Okay.
the winter season.
Right.
But that's a consideration if we don't have people if we don't have a bucket truck and we don't have our highway guys doing it, then we need somebody to put them all out and then take them all down. I mean, we can absolutely discuss sourcing that with different people, see who's potentially willing to help or what these prices would be, or possibly an IMA with the town. There's options, but
Does the town have bucket truck?
I believe they do.
I like it.
And you have to also determine, not only how long you leave them up, but how, if you put them same ones up next year, if you have other applicants. So what is the rotation?
Right.
You know, to push them through so that you're getting everybody.
Well, so that's why you have to determine how many poles that you would want to use. You can generally do 2 banners per pole. My original suggestion would have been to go out to every village entry sign on
On the
East
circle.
Market, and then also
Yeah, so, and we haven't asked Central Hudson yet, because they lay out the requirements of what you have to do, and how high they have to be, and all, and we have to get their permission per pole.
Sure.
So we give them a list of poles, and then they come and look at them, and then they tell you whether you can use that pole or can't. And the last thing is, in the village center, the high school hangs graduation flags, which we've always approved every year.
So they haven't actually done that in
They
the last
have-
few years.
Well,
I don't remember.
they haven't done it this year, I thought they did it last year.
We have not gotten an application from them, and I want to say at
I
least
remember
3
like
years.
the art that sort of is hanged.
That's the Madagascar art.
Yeah,
that
but
was-
like, I don't remember.
And those are supposed to be hung
That
from the
wasn't on
trees.
the pole though.
Yeah, but like, I don't remember, what I'm saying is I don't remember that.
It's been, I want to say
For
it's
some
been
reason I
3,
do.
I want to say it's been
Yeah.
like 3 years since they've done that.
Okay.
So if they retain them, though, they don't ask them to pay again? Or do the next year, or do they never
No,
reuse the
so,
banner?
so if you're gonna buy a banner, the banner should probably last 2 to 3 years, depending on what company we use and how long they can guarantee it. But no, you're paying for one banner and it can be hung multiple times.
It just depends how often you want to hang it. And then
So
what
we
our
would
costs.
also need to figure out sort of the money side of this
So if you
conversation.
have input, though, please get it into us, so that we can start formulating the plan for this.
If you want to check with Sarah, just so you don't have to read out the bill.
Just see for some costs. Maybe we could find
Yeah, I
a
reached
partner
out
to
to
pay
a
the
few different
costs.
municipalities,
You know,
but I
there's
didn't know
a,
that.
like, way of-
That's why most municipalities make the applicant pay, because they're having.
It feels kind of chintzy, doesn't it?
All right, if you guys are good with me, I'll say goodnight.
Yeah,
Thank
so,
you.
yeah,
Thank
like,
you.
I'm happy to provide recommendations, Martina, if you send out the.
So
list
I'll
of
give you
questions.
a draft kind of outline of it, and then if you want to give me feedback, and then I can do a formal presentation
Yeah, no problem.
to be able to accept this program.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
But yes, so also to answer your other question, essentially the decisions that'll need to be made from the board is who you would deem eligible, how many banners would we initially allow. There is an option if we wanted to do some type of sponsorship. Generally, municipalities actually are not involved with the sponsorship itself.
Right.
But if another organization wanted to work with us to provide sponsorship, we could allow that. How long?
I think we can figure that out.
How long would banners remain in the program? Who would review applications? Which I would volunteer to do that. Which poles would be used? And then if a banner is retired, like it would be returned to the family.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a few different companies, so there's a lot of options. But
Awesome. Thank you, Martina.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Gary, you actually never sent us that email with the crosswalk stuff.
Sure.
You never sent us the crosswalk stuff.
I spent the whole time looking for it.
Yeah, so have I.
Make a motion.
Yeah.
I can, do you want me to do it? Go back to the crosswalk, so you make a motion to accept.
No. You just need to send it to us. You never sent it to us. That's fine.
Make sure I did that. All right.
Great, thank you.
Okay, moving on, filming application. We have a request for a film application from GB Productions, and the date is here.
June 22nd through 25th.
Yeah.
They're doing a photo shoot for their client, and they want to use the village streets as a location for a fall holiday catalog. They'll be staying at the Beekman Arms and actually want to just do shooting on June 25th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They do not need any street closures. They're mainly just interested on the sidewalks. The vehicles will be parked on the hotel property, but they're filling out a formal application.
I'm just curious, I mean, do we ever ask what the product is? I mean, do we ever have concerns with the fact that it might be something
We can't.
unusual?
They generally end up telling us, but it looks like this, I don't have the actual catalog, but
Is that not allowed?
it's a
to
fall
ask?
holiday catalog. I don't know what that
Right.
would be, but most people end up telling us whether it's a show
Okay.
for Hallmark or,
Right.
I mean, we can always ask, but we can't have our decision based on their answer.
So they're just going on various
But
streets?
But there's something in it that says it's not, it can't be inappropriate, it can't be.
They mainly
like,
wanna
is there
go
some kind of-
along-
There's some kind of like guardrails on it?
In the
Peace
form.
Market and Route 9.
Where is it in the form?
It's not in the form, she's
Yeah.
reading something.
They sent me an email. a
Okay,
separate
all right,
email.
'cause none of it's here.
Yeah.
No, they sent,
The
they
application
they
for
did
the
a very generic info for their application. But essentially what it is just still photography. They're not gonna be requesting any street closures or parking spaces and,
What is the fee we're gonna charge?
well, so that's the thing.
Between,
They're not doing a production, they're doing a photo shoot. And they're just gonna be walking along the village streets, so that's why it's a little,
I mean, they're still taking up sidewalk space, which people get agitated about.
as is anybody who walks on the sidewalk.
But they're here doing it in a production. It's not like a bachelorette party, right? You know, our fee schedule does say more than 20 people, $350 per day. You know, if they're only gonna be shooting on that one day, then I think we should charge them $350.
So it's more than 20, I missed that.
Is it really 23 people?
No.
Oh, I thought
That's what's on the form.
that's what's on the front.
Oh, I'm sorry, then if that's what she put, then yeah.
How many people?
It says 23.
Yeah, that's Frank.
Oh, poor little guy.
Do we know how many people?
It says 20, I thought it said 23. I don't know.
Total number of people on site is 23.
Yeah,
So then the fee would be $350.
yeah, okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve on condition of paying a fee of $350.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next one is the peddling application.
So this gentleman actually, this is a late addition, he came in today. He would like permission to set up a table either by the liquor store or outside of CVS not CVS specifically, but the sidewalk there. I have a photo that I can send to you guys. He essentially created like a little display of the sign for Rhinebeck and would like to be able to sell that as a piece of Rhinebeck for people to take home.
Do we do that usually?
Is sell pin to tourists so they can take a piece of Rhinebeck home with them.
I mean, it sounds like something that shops pay rent to sell.
So he's specifically raising money to go support his daughter, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, is this like a?
Yeah.
um,
So he's creating a lapel pin to raise money to support his disabled daughter, Willow, who was 3 years old, and to sell the pin to tourists so they can take a piece of Rhinebeck home. Do we have what the pin looks like?
I don't, we can't,
I mean, I'd just like to see it.
yeah, no, that's fine.
It is not the villages.
So the question is whether or not have we ever allowed someone, we've allowed people to set up tables to sell products on our sidewalks.
Right.
Because we have done that in the past, we cannot deny it in the future. We can just regulate the time, place, and manner in which this takes place,
And the location.
and the location.
He is interested in doing this on Sundays
Although it is a commercial.
between 10 and noon.
One Sunday or multiple Sundays?
Multiple Sundays throughout the summer.
That doesn't
I'm
sound.
sorry.
Wait, when have we done this in the past? Like, under what circumstances do we usually?
We've
do
allowed
this?
people to table, to essentially set up, so we actually did have a peddler who had a,
They were selling
Pottery.
cookies in front of,
Right.
well, that failed, but
Right.
a woman sold cookies in front of Samuel's. But that was
girl, the girl with the pottery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
she had pottery and we allowed her, she had multiple locations, permission from the property owners to set up her table.
Right.
And that was for several months at a time.
There's no time frame on this application though.
Yeah, it's June through December, Sundays.
What?
June through December. Not necessarily every Sunday, but throughout that time period.
So in the past, we've had difficulty making sure that these people are in the actual location where they say they're going to be, as you know.
That one was different.
Um,
I did inform him that if he plans to be in front of any type of establishment, that we would need that written permission from said establishment and need to be notified.
Right.
And I think we need to have specific dates. It can't be generic. I mean, because
So
we've
do you
always told
want him-
people we've always asked for
So
dates.
he's asking for essentially every Sunday, but is saying that he won't necessarily do every Sunday. He'd like the permission to do every Sunday, but if it's like raining on a Sunday, he's not gonna go out.
So if he's next to the liquor store, that's not village property. He would need to get permission from Joe Curthoys for that.
Well, what if he's on that sidewalk in front of the bench?
That's the area. That's exactly what
That's
it
where
is.
he wants.
Oh,
That's
where?
what I think.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Where we currently,
Where the kids sell the pumpkins?
Right.
So we have to let kids sell pumpkins.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a one day, one event.
And isn't that for, I mean, isn't where are the proceeds of those sales
That
go?
goes to the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a kind of
Right,
different
we're-
thing than a
we're-
private sale.
Yeah, we're basically giving him permission to sell, like, this isn't for I mean, I get, like, this is for a
Well, that's the same thing
cause.
with the pottery. It was for business.
It was for business.
It does seem strange to me, I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but it does seem strange to me that we allow them to rent space for free.
What are our
Right, like
regulations around?
Well, so
yeah.
that it wouldn't necessarily be for free. So anybody who's doing it for like a nonprofit, we waive that fee. For anybody who wants a peddler's permit, they would pay $50 a month.
Right.
Man, we really need to
We
figure
should
out
just
our
have a
peddler's
policy,
permit.
I mean,
Right.
if this is something that we do, that's fine, but we
We're
should probably.
working on it.
Okay, let's maybe
But
just.
yes, our current, since this would be, it's for his own sale, he would pay $50 a month to have that
Right.
permit.
So, I mean, technically, under our peddler's law, they're moving, right? They're not supposed to be in any spot for more than 10 minutes. I'm fully aware of all of the laws that we have that deal with stuff like this, and how all of them need to be updated. But this is,
So do we have him come back and apply when we've updated the policy?
I mean, like, he's trying to raise money for his daughter now, right? So use of stationary locations is restricted. So in the law, it says, no peddler or solicitor shall have any exclusive right to any location in the public streets, nor shall any be permitted a stationary location, nor shall be permitted to operate for longer than 10 minutes in any one location, which shall include a distance of 0.3 miles in all directions from any one location.
Which has not been followed in the last 6 years.
Yeah, no, I fully appreciate that. You know, he can't do it before 9 a.m. or after 7 p.m. He cannot knock or ring bells or doors. He can't be within 200 feet of a church or a school. Weird.
I mean, I just remember, this was a lot of years ago, this was, back in probably 2008, but when we had a shop in town, I remember, and we sold jewelry, and I remember a woman setting up and selling stuff on the street outside our store. And I was
Yes.
kind of like,
So we have
Not sure I'm
allowed
okay with
people
that.
to do that if the property owner gives them
Allows.
permission.
right.
So
Well,
I
she was
think-
not permitted.
right,
Yes, so then she would have had to leave, yeah.
Right.
So
But
I think he
just the
needs to get
principle, I
permission
mean.
from the liquor store or from CVS. I mean, like, we had the.
Well, that area to the side of the liquor store, nobody gets permission to use, and we've allowed people to use.
There are peddlers that hang out there.
There are buskers that hang out
There are
there.
buskers that hang out there. Peddlers imply they have a permit.
Yeah.
But we've had peddlers set up there.
We haven't, like, for one
Religious.
day.
Yeah, they do it.
No, we've given permission for people to have, like, the pumpkin sale for one day.
No, I'm saying there's religious organizations that are in that location that
But we're not giving them permission
they're
to do
routinely
that.
showing up.
That's fine. I don't care
Yeah,
what
but it's
they,
separate from us.
that's
giving them
separate, that's
Right.
busking, right? That's like,
Right.
that's not applying to for a
Right.
peddler's permit here.
The most recent person we've allowed multiple days was with pottery, but she had permission from specific property owners.
Right. As far as I can tell, she didn't take advantage of it.
I'd rather almost help him, like, connect him with people to.
Yeah, it's like I'd
to
almost
raise
rather like
money.
connect him with like the farmer's
Well, so that
market or something.
information was provided to him that if he wanted to be in another location, he'd have to get permission from the property owner
Okay.
and provide that in writing.
Some of your businesses sell Rhinebeck memorabilia.
Right, well, this is
So how are
my
they gonna feel?
concern, yeah. This seems like a small enough thing that in this particular situation, it's not maybe it's not gonna be an issue, but.
I think we should time bound it. I think,
I agree.
if
I'd
he'd
like
like
to
to
see-
do this every Sunday in July, he's more than welcome to do it every Sunday in July. And maybe by August, we'll have figured out our own issues around
Yeah,
this
I
law.
agree.
I agree with that. I think we need to have a,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think we should talk to the Chamber of Commerce about it, see what they think, see what their membership, the merchants think, or, enjoy the Rhinebeck, see what the merchants think about this.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application for a limited time period using your recommendation of July.
Or the rest of June, or, whatever, if he wants it right now.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
what do you want, June or July?
4 consecutive Sundays.
Yeah, 4 consecutive Sundays, and he'll work it out with you, Martina.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I think we should talk to the chamber about this. I think we also, once again, this reminds us that we need to work on all these laws.
All right, do I
But I
have a
hope he gets
second?
the money for his daughter.
Do I have a
Yeah, I
second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Tree Commission, Rick's not here.
But
You have the application.
I do have the application.
Can I turn the air conditioning back on?
Yeah.
14 Knollwood from 5/29/26, submitted by Kathy Golden for the removal of 3 cowrie pear trees in the median. The tree commission is willing to replace 2 to 3 trees as requested by the homeowner, and the homeowner has offered to pay for the trees.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jennifer, update on this one?
Okay, I'll go through this quickly. So, in the news, so this is from Vanessa. This is our final push for Rhinebeck to win the National Spring Next Treks Challenge. From now until the end of June, bring your clean and dry stretchy plastic to 7 Williams. Okay. Dry and stretchy plastic to 7 Livingston Street drop-off. Rhinebeck at Home and the Climate Smart Task Force have collectively weighed in over 517 pounds. So after June 30th, don't stop, bring the plastic to Tops, use their collection bins located at the entryways. This plastic, unlike a lot of plastic, actually doesn't get recycled. So Tops is a Trex partner location. All plastic collected in Tops stores is sent to Trex to be made into composite decking. Waste. Gary actually maybe can also put here. So we had some complaints from a neighbor whose backyard abuts the compost dumpster location. So they are coating the food scraps with fresh hempcrete to soak up the odor, and we're examining or exploring other locations.
So yeah, so currently, I mean, I've been doing it as well. Because of these hot days, we're getting some odors coming out from food being dropped in, and it heats up very quickly. We are using a mixture of sometimes sawdust and sometimes hemp to control that while we work on finding an alternative location. And I do not have an update on the alternative location.
Fine, but we're taking it seriously, and I know you have been. So for energy, NYSERDA FlexTech, so we have a survey requesting feedback on the FlexTech program, which we use on Village Hall and the waste treatment plant in order to do energy studies, so she's working on that. Pollinator garden, do you have an update on that, or?
Yeah, they're going to be planting them on the 18th. They've already turned, they pulled out, all the planting has been removed, although I see stuff is happily growing already. And then on the 18th, they're going to come in and plant it. And maybe next meeting, we could possibly talk about the sign, because
Sure.
this is such a long meeting already.
Yeah, sounds good. And then last, the Cornell Cooperative Extension informed us about a training program called Climate Stewards. So some members of Rhinebeck at Home have already done this training and benefited from it. So if anyone's interested, just let us know before June 30th. The application needs to go in. And then last, we've got the Climate Smart Communities grants are open. So I'm looking through these, but it seems like there could be some interesting stuff. So I'll be knocking on everyone's doors to discuss it, but there's a couple things that kind of jumped out at me. There's a fleet management certification program that I thought might be interesting in terms of increasing the life of the fleet and just doing an inventory. And there's also a relocating or retrofitting critical infrastructures to reduce future flood risks. So Gary, that's maybe something that you could provide
Those things
input on.
we've already taken under what
Some of this is
Vanessa.
Vanessa.
So I want you to go back to Vanessa
Vanessa first.
first, because we've done the fleet management.
Oh, you did?
That was part of our application,
Oh,
and we did the floodplain resiliency and plotted out all the maps and
right.
marked all the locations already in Hamilton.
Okay, I did mention the fleet management to her, and she thought it was a good idea. So maybe this is a different program. I don't know. It says talk to Lydia, because Lydia might be interested in fleet management.
I love fleets.
Anyway, so that's all I have.
Albert Parks,
Thompson Mazzarella Park Committee meeting 5/27. 2 students from the middle school civics class requested that the Rhinebeck cross-country teams be allowed to use the Thompson Mazzarella Park for practices, which would be about twice a week, and meets, which right now is 1 meet in the fall. They mapped out possible courses for both the modified and varsity teams, which they presented, and they would like the entire park to be closed for the fall meet. So questions to be considered, different things came up about, safety, where would the bus load and unload the students, how would the public be notified in advance that the park will be closed. insurance implications if another school attends a meet. All runners should be in the sight of a school district staff member. Students should not be running alone, and how quickly can help be gotten down into the park if somebody gets hurt. The pool is opening June 16th. The scramble is on to recruit lifeguards. We talked about the pay structure and compared to other municipalities. The groundskeeper has outfitted a water trailer to irrigate areas that are not in reach of running water. On June 13th, the next town board meeting, a quote to purchase 4 Palisade oak benches, which include 2 that were donated by bocce players and friends, will be brought to the board, so hopefully that can move forward. Maintenance was performed on the soccer turf. It included vacuuming and repairs. It cost about $2,800 and should be done twice a year. And Chad is working with Central Hudson to install lights. He's also working on a path to divert pedestrian traffic away from the parking areas and off the road for people walking to some of the facilities so that they're not walking among, between, and around the cars. The Village Parks Committee 6-1. The land survey of the municipal lot has been completed, and it turns out we own the pollinator garden, so that made it less complicated.
That's good.
Has anybody gone and checked out the stakes?
I did.
Recommend that you do.
Okay. Would you mind forwarding the survey?
What, you mean the map and all that? Yeah, sure, yeah.
So we can put it
Ryan
on
has
file.
it. Yeah, Ryan has it, but, yeah.
Oh, no, we need to put it on our file.
Okay, fine, yeah, I can do that, yeah. Yeah, I actually found one of the stakes. I couldn't find it. It turned out it was behind Roy's fence.
Oh.
So, yeah, so there's some very interesting results.
Yeah, that's why I recommend you go check it out.
Yeah, will do.
Anyway, mats have arrived and they've been installed under the 5 to 12-year-old swings and at the end of the slide. So hopefully that will be one less thing we get dinged about when we have the inspection. The update on the gazebo, this has been brought up. The lines will not move or buy a new one. We talked about the fact that a 20-foot octagonal gazebo, which is actually smaller than the one that is there now, would cost between $25,000 and $30,000 by the time you set it up and do the foundation and whatever you need. So we decided that we stay focused on equipping, but we've already discussed all this in constructing the kiddie area, and we said we're not going to be fighting one way or the other on the gazebo. We just want to pick the most effective way to get this done. Also, before the village makes a decision, we think it would be a good idea to get some data on how often the gazebo is used and what it's currently used and what its intended future use would be. We also talked about the fact, we do understand that there would be some, major advantages of moving the kiddie area closer to the 5 to 12-year-old area. But it also, as I mentioned before, this is where it came up to leave a buffer of 10 to 20 feet between the two sections.
But this is all going to be discussed by Brandy in the...
Yeah, no,
right? So this is all, yeah.
But I just want, so people don't say I haven't told you what we're going through. Yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
And then we talked about the pedestrian improvements in the village of Rhinebeck. I did go to that meeting. The path that goes through the park is going to be widened, and originally the thought was to double the width to 10 feet, but now at the presentation it was 8 feet. New York State DOT recommends if you have a two-way bike path with a / pedestrian, the New York State DOT prefers 12 feet at least, plus ample shoulders. The committee is strongly opposed to taking away parkland. We're concerned about adding more asphalt to the park. We're thinking that widening the path for bikes might increase the speed at which they travel through the park. It may attract light electrical vehicles, thereby undermining pedestrian safety. So we recommend using North Park Road as a thoroughfare, and alterations to the path as it stands now should be minimized to reduce the environmental impact. And then I won't go through the kitty area, we did that, we hashed through that one very thoroughly. So that's the end part.
Okay.
We continue to carry on. You can see the notes in the minutes. One interesting thing actually happened. The timing of these minutes with the timing of our meetings is a little odd because we just approved these minutes from May at our last meeting, which was 3 days ago, 4 days ago. Something happened in the meeting 4 days ago that I think you guys all might be interested in. Karen Unger has worked diligently to create a spreadsheet of all grants, literally every single grant that the Village of Rhinebeck could potentially apply for. State, federal, local, private foundations, you name it, she has captured it into a spreadsheet of possibilities. She's continuing to work on it, fleshing it out, links and all of the rest of it. She's putting in a whole, like a couple of columns of like, not only when the grant is due, but like when we should start thinking about it kind of thing. It's being categorized by, is this a parks question? Is this a streets question? Is this a whatever question? So when she's complete with that, it's going to be this extraordinary asset for all of us.
Is there any way to get access earlier? Because we're looking for grants.
Oh, sure, yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And some of them are like super easy, you fill out a one-page form and you get 10 grand for something, and obviously it goes all the way from that up to like, a DOT TAP grant, which takes a bajillion years. So that was pretty extraordinary. Otherwise, that's all I got.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve, I'd like to make an acknowledgement to our Rotary organization who recently completed painting all of our park benches in the village. They do this every 2 to 3 years at the generosity of the Rotary and a task to put that together. So I believe all of that work is done. So thank you to Rhinebeck Rotary for painting all of our benches that are in the village.
Thank you. Thank you.
Minutes, I'd like to make a motion to approve 4/28/26.
Second, I sent you a couple comments on those.
So we'll say as amended.
Yeah.
I abstain, I was not here, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 5/12/26 minutes.
Second.
Have a second?
I did, I seconded it.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So approved. Okay, getting close to the end. Personnel, always great to recognize our personnel that are here working for us in the village. Today we get to recognize groundskeeper Tom Johnson for 25 years. Thank you, Tom. We also get to recognize water operator Tony Fada for 25 years in the village. And who was recently here and left, our CFO and treasurer Karen McLaughlin, 11 years. Thank you for all you do for the village of Rhinebeck to keep the wheels in the bus going forward. With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:36.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.